Hello and welcome to Music Meets Tech. I'm your host, Hugh Sung, and I wanted to go over the basics of putting together a digital keyboard system utilizing the Pianoteq piano simulation software. Pianoteq, as I just mentioned, is a program that you could purchase and download either onto a computer or onto a dedicated virtual instrument sound module like the muse-receptor. Let's start off by working with the computer setup, downloading the program, installing it onto a computer like this one pictured here. This is a picture of my Gateway M285E tablet PC. Okay. Now somehow we're going to have to get the sound operating from the keyboard onto, or operated through this keyboard, this digital piano keyboard, not the laptop keyboard. So the other component we're going to need to go from this keyboard to the computer will be a USB audio interface box. Okay? This particular model is the M Audio Fast Track Pro. This is a discontinued model, but you can find similar items on the market today, probably actually smaller and somewhat cheaper than what I paid for my model at the time. Okay. What we're going to do is, from the keyboard, we're going to run a MIDI cable from here to the audio interface box. Out of the keyboard, we will run the MIDI cable from the MIDI out port. And then this will go into the MIDI in port in back of this model of the USB audio interface box. Okay? Let me just show you a quick picture of what a MIDI cable looks like for those of you who have never worked with them. Okay? A MIDI cable has 5 pins on either end. Very standard cables that are used to interface between digital musical instruments. All right. Now, from the Fast Track Pro audio interface box, we're going to run a a USB cable. All right. For this particular model, the USB cable looks very similar to the kind that you would use for connecting printers with computers. Notice the flat end here would go into the computer port. The square end here would go into the audio interface box. Okay? Now, once you have this particular interface box in place, you can then run it a line from that box to your speaker. There's a port in back that goes from a 1/4 inch in this particular case. This particular speaker is a picture of my QSC H2, I forget the exact model number, but it's a self-powered loudspeaker, which is nice because you don't need any additional components to power up the sound. And this end uses an XLR male connector. The cable actually looks like this. This is a picture of the cable. Let me blow it up just a little bit for you. And again, the 1/4 inch end comes out of here, and the XLR end goes into here. Okay? Pretty simple. The nice thing about the audio interface box is that it also has a port for headphone jacks right over here. So if you wanted to listen to this through headphones rather than through speakers, you can connect from the headphone cable directly into the headphone jack. All right? Once you have these components in place and have the program running on your computer, then playing on the keyboard will activate the sound, and the sound will then travel out to your sound source, your sound outputs, either your speaker or your headphones. Okay? So that's the basic setup using a laptop computer. In just a moment, I'll repeat this for the setup using a dedicated sound module like the muse-receptor. Okay, we're back, and this time we're going to work with a setup using a dedicated sound module like the muse-receptor pictured here. Now, the advantage of something like the muse-receptor is the fact that This is essentially a computer that's dedicated to do one function, that is to run virtual instrument plugins and software programs. The advantage of using the muse-receptor is its speed, high quality audio outputs, and the fact that you can have actually less equipment to carry around. Let's keep in mind, actually, now that Pianoteq is actually now compatible with the muse-receptor, but you will need still a connection from a computer to the muse-receptor to install the program from the computer to the receptor. All right? In order for the computer to talk to the receptor, you're going to need what's known as a crossover Ethernet cable. It's a special kind of network connection cable that allows two computers to talk directly to each other without the use of a router box. Okay? So once you have installed the program from the computer to your muse-receptor, you're ready to go, and you're not going to need the computer anymore. Let's get rid of these things. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Let me erase this. Okay, and let's get to work assembling our Pianoteq program using the muse-receptor and, obviously, a digital keyboard. Okay? We're going to go back to using our MIDI connection. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to go from the MIDI port out here into the MIDI in there. So again, using those MIDI cables, MIDI out to MIDI in. All right? Now the nice thing, like I said, you have one less piece of equipment to worry about. From the muse-receptor, you can then connect directly to a pair of speakers. Okay? There are high-quality quarter-inch outputs that would go from here into your speakers, quarter-inch out, okay, and then XLR in for the case of this particular model. And again, just to remind you, the different cables look like this. This is a MIDI cable. This is a typical quarter-inch to XLR input cable. All right, and again, the front of the muse-receptor also has a port for a headphone jack if you choose to want to listen to your music that way. Okay? So, once again, just to review, MIDI out to MIDI in. The ports are in the back of the muse-receptor box. Okay? These are your MIDI cables. If you're going to then connect to a self-powered sound system, the quarter-inch out corresponds with this end over here. Okay, you'll see the little hole in back there, and then the corresponding XLR in going to the speaker looks like this thing over here. It actually has 3 holes on that particular end. Okay, a much simpler setup. You have the benefit of really incredible performance speed, virtually no lag, a huge hard drive dedicated to holding hundreds, if not thousands, of plugins, and just a terrific sounding unit that runs off the Linux system. So there we have it. We have 2 different setups connecting keyboards to either a laptop setup or the muse-receptor dedicated sound module setup, and then various sound output options. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful, and we're going to take a look at a real-life video of how I put the system together with one of my students. Okay, we're all set? Mm-hmm. Okay.